Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fourth Quarter Talk podcast with your host Josh Misoki, and I'm joined by
Matas Baranauskas.
Alright, so first we'll address the elephant in the room here. Jack Brazil, you won't hear his annoying voice today because he's managed to find a way to leave his keyboard either at home or at uni. I don't even know which way around it is, but he's managed to have all of his equipment. He even had some special new equipment with him, but had everything apart from his keyboard apparently. And then obviously the other elephant in the room is we've been kind of shit with our consistency recently, but life happens. Uni's draining. It's that time of the year, so we're gonna try to do as much as we can. I mean, right now as you speak, after recording this, I'm gonna have to go straight back into doing some more uni work. So yeah, we'll get them out when we can. But yeah, first we'll start with obviously LaMarcus Aldridge, who in the time since we've recorded, the last episode we recorded was about his signing, and now he's abruptly retired. So what do you think about that, Matas?
Yeah, it's kind of sad the way he retired because basically he was nearly guaranteed to win the ring, and he was big part of Nets roster as well because big body in the paint, especially against Joel Embiid, he would be good enough defender, I think, and the way he just retired because of the health problems, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, just to put into context here, LaMarcus Aldridge, all the way back in 2007, was diagnosed with Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, which he experienced after dizziness and a rapid heartbeat during a game, and so he's been dealing with this for quite a while, and it's been kind of a thing where he's been thinking, it must have been in the back of his mind, that you're playing a sport like basketball, which is high pace, and at any point you can have an irregular heartbeat. So he's definitely experienced that before. So just the fact that he felt the need to retire now really shows that it must have been quite a scary experience that he had in the last game, because he's had this before. So it must have been a quite severe one. And then obviously, getting older, he's got a family to think about now. So, after a 15-year career, arguably a Hall of Fame career, with dealing with these issues, it puts in perspective how impressive his career was. As a Thunder fan, he's like the number one Thunder killer. He dropped 57 against us a couple of years ago. I remember in the playoffs, dropped 40 in game one. His mid-range shots are ingrained in my brain. But
his mid-range is
automatic. It's automatic. And it's sad because it feels like the Spurs wasted a good chunk of his prime.
When he signed with them and Kawhi was there, he had a chance to win.
Yeah. He won 67 games that first year. That was underrated part of them. They were right on pace with those 73 Warriors the whole way through.
And probably if not Zaza injured Kawhi, they might go to the finals and win the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this season it's unfortunate as well, because that just shows how serious it is that he felt the need to retire, because he obviously knew that this was a great chance to win. Since signing there, he fit seamlessly. He was doing his role, he was doing his job, contributing in ways that I didn't even see coming myself. Which just goes to show when you're on a great team, you can you don't have that pressure on you to do everything, and then you can kind of just go to your strengths. But yeah, honestly, we honor a great career, and we're just happy that he doesn't have to go out abruptly. And in terms of his life, that's the most important thing. Family is forever, and that's he wants to leave a legacy way past basketball. So we just hope in his second act that he can enjoy life with his family without having that worry.
Yeah, and the thing, he was 49 points away from 20K.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's rough.
He was close.
Yeah.
And basically, usually that 20K is benchmark for Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And right now,
Yeah, you'd have to think that, I mean, he could have potentially finished this season with 20K and a ring, which would do a lot for his Hall of Fame case. But when you do look at, the 2010s, that decade, and you look at the leaders in a lot of categories, you'll see his name, especially in scoring. So, You
Well,
know,
in history like of NBA, he's top 10 in points, blocks, rebounds, field goals, and minutes played. So that says a lot.
yeah, yeah. Nah, he's definitely a great talent, not to be forgotten. You know, his Blazers days. I mean, he's kind of he suffered from quite a few unlucky things going on because remember
Yeah,
he was part of that team, you know, with Brandon Roy and Greg Oden, who you know completely decimated by injuries, and who knows what could have happened
yeah,
there because when they played, I think when they played together, they had a crazy record together in games played, but and then obviously yeah, like that Blazers era kind of ended on a sour note, and it'd be interesting to see because he was the most sought after free agency that summer. You know, you had the Lakers going after him, several teams going after him, and he chose the Spurs, which at the time looked like he was going to be that transitional period from Tim Duncan, but
yeah.
that never seemed to work out. So it's unfortunate, but a great career nonetheless. But yeah, on that note of injury, we're gonna shift to the league-wide injury problem going on right now, which has been largely linked to the schedule. You know, the NBA opted to make this season happen, but they didn't. They obviously knew that these players were just never going to commit to us. 82 to 72 game bubble, so they had to find ways around it to fit a 72 game season, which was going to happen because they need the money. And as a result, they had to compress the season because they're trying to make it fit before the Olympics, the potential Olympics, and they don't want to touch certain other sports as well. So there's been a lot more back-to-backs, a lot more games of 3 games and 4 nights. And as a result, a lot of injuries. And this season more than ever, I mean, it might not statistically be that way, but just the types of players that are going down, I've got a graphic here of the list, stars that have missed time due to injuries, significant time. We've got Donovan Mitchell recently, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Giannis, Jamal Murray, names like Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid. You're seeing a lot of young stars on here. You're seeing a lot of MVP candidates on here, a lot of players from teams that are quite important, that are contenders. So, it's kind of we're risking getting into an area here where, firstly, obviously, it's diminishing the excitement of the season, but also you just want to, if you're the NBA, you want to avoid, fans going to, there was already questions about the legitimacy of the bubble. So now, if you're having us go into a playoff season where most of the star players are injured, you have a Lakers team, lower seeded Lakers squad who are reigning champions, then that would be risk. What do you think about uh, how the season's going with injuries and how the league's plan of compressing the season has worked?
I think it's and not like the players that got injured, but like the injuries they got, like how big of the injuries they were. Like Jamal Murray torn his ACL, like he's done for the season, and Fultz as well at the start of the season, he's out. And yeah, like there's a lot of back to backs. I think like few players are not playing like for playing back to backs. For example, for Celtics, Kemba is not playing with back to backs because of his knee, and they want to keep him like healthy for the playoffs. Then, like recently, Jazz and Raptors got $25,000 for health and safety protocols or something like that because I think they just want to keep their players safe because
Yeah.
they're playing too much. And
And the Raptors, a lot of teams are getting starting to get fined because it goes on the side of that tanking thing as well, where teams are getting fined for not specifying, injuries and not specifying which players are playing and not playing.
yeah, and right now teams are saying, "Oh, he's out due to illness, not related to COVID." I,
Yeah.
it's definitely they just resting them because they are playing so many games in
I am
short period of
feeling
time.
it as a fantasy player, as a fantasy league player owner right now. A lot of my players, I'll see because I started it last year, and I'll see these ridiculous reasons where it'll just be like, these new reasons, illness not related to COVID protocol, like these different ways of saying rest,
Yeah, exactly.
back to backs are just, if you have a veteran on a team and it's a back to back, you can just pretty much pencil in that they're not playing. So yeah, it's been insane. And to ask this out of your players who spent 2 months in a bubble, who got a as short as LeBron and AD, who are now evidently injured. They only had a 77-day free agency. I mean, off season. So
Well, Jimmy was injured as well this time.
yeah, he suffered a lot of injuries, and if you look at it, like a lot of these teams that are disappointing right now, people are saying, oh yeah, they're frauds, they're being exposed because they played in the bubble, but maybe it's that they got such a short off season that their teams are decimated with injuries. A lot of teams getting hit with these COVID protocols, which the COVID protocol that has been a real fantasy killer right there. Like you'll just lose a player for 2 weeks. And the killer with that one is you'll lose that player for COVID protocol for I think it's like 12 days or so.
Yeah.
And then you lose them for then you lose them again because it's like, oh, they're sitting out this game to get their fitness back. And then there'll be like because once you get halfway to 75% through the season, everyone's kind of injured, like it's a long
Yeah.
season and everyone has their nagging injuries. So if you take that player out for 12 days and they don't have the fitness there, then they go straight back into playing, and then that puts them at risk of injury again. So yeah, it's difficult, and we we hope they can get back to some sort of normalcy next season.
Well, and some players had COVID as well.
Yeah,
Like Jason Tatum said, like he's using inhaler to open his lung
yeah.
before the games.
And
So
it's a very new virus that we know not much about, and we started to see the effects, some unknown effects last season. You had players like Russell Westbrook, players in different sports like Lamar Jackson, who was saying that it was affecting them, it's affecting their play, affecting their fitness in different ways. And we look at these athletes, they're like world class athletes, especially a player like Russell Westbrook, but they're still experiencing some different effects to a new virus that we don't have that much research on. It's only, a year to 2 years old. So we don't know about these long-term possible effects yet. So yeah, it's a lot to be seen because yeah, you have a player like Jason Tatum who's saying that he's using an inhaler for the first time, which is is definitely worrying.
yeah, exactly. And especially when Jason Tatum is 23 years old, you don't want like star of the league, like in the league, to get like serious health problems with that.
Yeah. So from one thing that players have been complaining about with the scheduling, we'll move to another thing that has kind of come to light is the play-in tournament controversy. You had Luka Doncic and Mark Cuban speaking out saying that maybe the play-in tournament was a bad idea, and you have different players, and now the common denominator in a lot of these players and coaches and so on speaking out is that they happen to be in that range. And obviously, if you're the Golden State Warriors, well, maybe not Draymond Green, but if you're the Golden State Warriors franchise and you're sitting at 10th and they're telling you have a chance to make the playoffs, you're like, great. But if you're a seventh seed, because 7 is pretty high up to not have your playoff berth guaranteed. And so that puts things into question. So what do you think about the play-in tourney? Do you think it's something that should have stayed in the bubble? Or do you think that it's a great addition? And also, do you think that expanding it all the way to 7 through 10, do you think that was a good idea?
Well, I think it's disappointing that they didn't keep the way there was in bubble when there was like if you 5 games above the team below you, like you automatically in the playoffs. You don't need to play with the playing tournament. I think that should be a better option. And I I'm not sure about it. Like I think it makes more competitive because usually it's I'm 10th seed, I'm not reaching the playoffs, so I'm gonna tank. I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna try, so I'm gonna tank. And right now, like you see Wizards, like they are literally they're finished, and like Russell Westbrook's playing well, they have a chance to reach the playing tournament and make playoffs. So it's a very unusual thing, I think.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. As pretty much everything that's gone into this season, every decision that's gone into this season is because of money. And they want they saw the success of the last one obviously with Damian Lillard with those Blazers, fighting their way into the playoffs, and they saw money signs, they saw dollar signs, they saw that we need as much competitive basketball as possible, and you can't have quarter of the league tanking, especially in a season like this where a lot of the Wizards, they had a lot, they got hit by the COVID protocol as hard as anyone, and injuries, so making these stars, especially in a season like this where a lot of the bad teams have superstars on them, the NBA must be salivating at a chance to see Steph Curry in a play-in tournament, and then potentially Curry, who has no, the Warriors who have no business being in the playoffs whatsoever, potentially going against the first seed, because if you're sitting at 7 in the West, you're a Steph Curry weekend away from going home with a 7th seed. So yeah, but I do like it. Like you said, I do think some teams should be safe, in terms of like the amount of wins, because if there's a big separation between that 7 and even that 8 or 9, that's kind of disappointing, because you work through a whole 72 game season, as players have said, if you get to the end of a 70, 80 game season and you're still not in the playoffs, maybe you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. But I think, having as little teams tanking as possible is a great thing. And just adding that extra excitement to the end of the season, because a lot of the time, the end of the season is just, either tanking or it's, let me rest my players for the playoffs. We've secured playoff berth now. So adding that element, that little warm up into the playoffs, I think can be good. I think maybe they'll get it right even better next season, or maybe they'll see that okay, it's 82 games, so maybe there's more of a sample size, and it'll work out better. But no, I like the play. I like the play-in tournament.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see the team, because it's one game. It's basically March Madness. If you win, exactly, you go to the playoffs. If you lose, you lose. Yeah, it should be more interesting. And Danny Ainge yesterday was commentating the Bulls Celtics game, and he was asked about the play-in tournament, and he said, "I don't love it, but our board of governors voted for it, so it doesn't really matter what I think about it." So I don't think a lot of GMs like the idea of play-in tournament, but NBA is basically business, and they need to make the revenue. So.
Yeah, Danny Ainge wouldn't like it because he can't even build a competent team around 2 All-Stars. So if you can't see, by the way, but I mean this isn't gonna be on video, but Matas has put his middle finger up at me because he can't take some truth about his Celtics, who just lost to the Bulls without Levine. Anyway,
well, we played with our main players, so.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right. Okay, so let's get to the player that, we just spoke about, potentially being the play-in tournament, who's just absolutely on fire, who's absolutely shutting up all the critics, shutting up Jack, who earlier in the season said that he wasn't that type of player to carry, to blow up like this. But let's talk about Waddell Stephen Curry II. He's having, like, you just can't even put to words, the type of season that he's having right now. Just coming off a 49-point game, 10 threes again, you got 72 threes in the last 10 days. Averaging...
last few games is just mental, like...
He's averaging 40 points in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
Like this season is absolutely comparable to his unanimous MVP season as well, and that's the stats, I'll put them up on the screen, but they're absolutely like almost identical. And it's just an all-time great looking type of offense. This is an all-time great offensive flurry right now, and it's sad that it's being wasted on like a poverty team right now, but he's saving the regular season, as I heard someone say, because just this type of, when he's on his game like he is right now, him and Kyrie by far to me are like the most entertaining players to watch in the league.
Oh, definitely.
And it's just nothing better than watching, Curry go off. I mean, I had to watch it come at my expense a couple of times, when the Thunder were great, and still, I rewatched that that Super Bowl weekend game, where he hit that game winner, the double bang game winner from half court, and like he does something different with that basketball, man. He like Steph Curry hot is just something you can't imagine. Like it's just insane to watch. Yeah,
It's
what
something
do you
else.
think? What are your thoughts, man?
Well, we played the Celtics played the Warriors on Saturday, and like Curry went for 47, I think, and like 11 threes, and literally his hand is like dribble and pull up three and easy. Like he makes everything look easy. Like all the trees, all the like dribble and the like pulls up and shoots and swish usually. And like there was one, he got and one like with crazy circle shot like over his head with left hand. Like how?
Oh yeah, oh my.
That was something else,
man.
And then Kevin Durant tweeted like, "What the end one."
Yeah, and then he said Kemba.
Because Kemba like in the next play.
Yeah.
Like,
he has
Curry's just
had 46 threes in 5 games, 78 in 11. The second most the person with the second most 10 3 games is Dame with 3, and he's had 4 in his last 5 games.
That says it all.
It is ridiculous. Like, and yeah, someone said he's touring the league, making stops in every city to clown your team's MVP, which is crazy because he gave Dame 62, beat the Mavs by 57, gave Jokic 53, and just now gave Embiid 49, and MVP chance.
MVP chance in Philly.
In Philly, like that has to hurt. If you're Joel Embiid, that has to hurt.
And I saw that people saying like MVP chance for Steph Curry in Philly. Yeah, that has to do. They finished.
Jokic is the MVP after that. I'm sorry, he can't come back from that. You cannot come back from another player getting MVP chance in your city when you're a candidate. Nah, no.
And the thing is, like Embiid is higher in the candidates like than Curry is right now, and like Curry is getting MVP chances. Like,
yeah. Let's speak to that. Can Curry steal MVP? And what would be your guideline if he could? What would he have to do? Would it be a seeding thing? Would it be like what would Curry have to do to steal MVP?
I think it has to be seeding thing.
Yeah,
because I can't see the other way.
What's your benchmark?
Well, right now they're 10th. Oh no, they're 9th. Like just at 29. At least they need to get at least into playoffs like straight away.
Yeah.
I think like so. Basically, they are 3 games behind Portland right now. So if they get to the 6th place, then yeah. But I think still.
Yeah, it's
the way Jokic is playing right now, yesterday as well. Then
exactly, Jokic, he didn't even allow that 49-point game to sink in.
Exactly.
Literally right after drops his 47-point triple double, which that looked nice in my fantasy squad, which is now in the playoffs. So it's very much needed. But that's the thing. Jokic is just having that much of a better season, and he's played every single game.
Exactly.
He suited up for every Nuggets game this season. So, it's tough because the MVP, the lowest seeded MVP in the last, few years was that what Russell Westbrook season, but that was still the 6th seed, on a team that wasn't seen as a playoff team at all. But it's tremendous. This is an offensive performance like no one's seen before this stretch that he's having right now. Because obviously you've had James Harden, have his 40-point streak and his 30-point streak, back in 2018. But this is different. Just the volume, the efficiency that he's putting up there. It's not loads of free throws. He's just doing some crazy things, and he's feeling himself. That left-handed 3-and-1. He's just absolutely toying with people, and I can't take for granted. I made that decision. I hated when he was coming onto the scene, I loved Curry, like from the start, and I was never hating on him. Obviously, when he was going against OKC, I was like, oh, fuck this guy, Like, I just remember Game 7, I think, in the Western Conference Finals, that 2016 Western Conference Finals. There was a point. I mean, I knew it was over when Clay hit that three from half court. Like when he turned around, wasn't even facing the basket, hit the three. I was like, we're losing the series. But in Game 7, I still had a little bit of hope, and I left. When Curry comes to beat the buzzer, high lefty layup, like kiss the top of the glass and goes in over Ibaka and KD. I'm like, this guy is ridiculous. Like 2016 Curry was just something different. Like that season just felt different. Like that was probably the best offensive season of all time, like the best individual season of all time. And now he's putting up the same type of, scoring. And it might be even more impressive now because he's doing this when like no one has to look, like no one is even looking at any of his teammates. Like he doesn't have anyone to take the pressure off him. He was sharing the court with like Brad Wanamaker, a few months ago.
Respect Wanamaker.
Wanamaker. Yeah, he's doing this with Steve Kerr, who's looking very suspect. Steve Kerr.
Well, he's in Charlotte already.
Yeah, but I mean, he had Wanamaker lead in one of the lead leaguers in fourth quarter minutes. Like this guy Steve Kerr is actually he deserves to be in handcuffs, man, for some of the stuff he's done. He's played. He just decided that Steph Curry is not a role player, and decided to like let him actually cook. And then he has some obsession with stopping every historical performance that Curry has. I don't know what it is. Like
when he
took Curry out before 50, took him out before 70, took him out like this guy like he doesn't want Curry to be great. But there's nothing to say, man. There's nothing.
Yeah, with the MVP, I think it depends more how other MVP candidates are playing.
Yeah, this is such a strange season because you have, Embiid. I feel like that absence that he had was too much for him to still win.
Yeah,
you have to play.
He should be.
To play, and there's no, because if you're gonna give it to Embiid, then the argument for Embiid is kind of gone, because if you're gonna give it to him over Curry, because obviously the seeding thing, then just give it to Jokic, because forget seeding for a second. Like the Nuggets have comparable wins, and that's with now Murray is gonna miss the rest of the season, so that's the second best player. Jokic is arguably just as dominant, just in a different way. So yeah, there's no reason why it should be a lock for Jokic, to be honest.
Well, and the Nuggets are fourth in the West right now, so
yeah, and just counting their wins, they're right there,
and they 2 games away, like from Philly. Philly on 39 wins, Nuggets on 37. So
yeah, but regardless, though, like just witness his greatness, appreciate his greatness, stop hating. And don't want to see any. This isn't the year that Curry gets exposed. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, now respect.
They tried to expose him, but like
they tried.
The other way.
They really tried. All right. So speaking of hot play, we're gonna talk about the Clippers, who, they've led the league all year in 3-point percentage at 42%, which is absolutely insane. And they're on pace for the all-time offensive efficiency rating, which is quite mad for a team that, their demise last year was kind of having an overly predictable offense. It was just kind of ISO, and getting Rondo has been, it's been great for them so far. Because he's kind of filled that gap, that void that they had. They didn't really have a playmaker. They were relying on Paul George and Kawhi to do their playmaking, because Patrick Beverley is not that type of point guard. And now you've got Paul George, who in the last 4 games, he had games, 36 points, 32, 33, 36. A lot of like great rebounding, great playmaking, and he's shooting at a crazy clip. 55 from the field, 60 from 3, 100% from the free throw line in that span. And just as a whole, as a team, even missing. They're having different stars miss games, but they just keep finding ways to win.
Yeah, I think that Rajon Rondo adding was a massive boost to them because they needed someone to move the ball. And I think Marcus Morris is shooting 48% from three this season as well.
Yeah.
So that I don't know how. The worst game against Pistons when Reggie Jackson just popped off in the game where he didn't play for 3 weeks or something. And so they have the players that can step up and just
Obviously, everyone just holds that reservation for them because obviously they're waiting for it to see it in the playoffs. Because obviously, as a franchise, the Clippers have never made it past second round, always find a way to choke. And then obviously they're coming off a season where everyone saw them as the team to beat, and then they end up crashing, so in such a terrible way. And then, so speaking of that, you got Doc Rivers who called out not called out Jokic, but he was asked, who's the MVP, and then he said obviously he's gonna say his guy Embiid, but then he was like, oh, probably Embiid, and then that kid from Denver. I'm like, that kid that got you fired, the kid that you surrendered a 3-1 lead to. But the Clippers are playing great. Obviously, we want to see it in the playoffs, but I do want to say, as someone who, people that have listened to it might think I'm a Paul George hater or something. I'm not, but I think that it's fair enough that people are like, okay, let's wait to the playoffs. Maybe they don't trust it, but it's a bit hypocritical because, every time Paul George has a bad game, it trends on Twitter. You got ESPN creating fake stats saying that, he's 5 for 60 or something like that in clutch moments, which is just false. Because I remember that OKC season alone, he definitely had way more than 5, and so it's just strange. And you got to give him the props if you're gonna hate on him as well, because he's a talented player. Obviously that was embarrassing. That was terrible. What a collapse that was. But you got to respect when they do play well, because Paul George is having a great season, and he's underrated in the fact that he's probably one of the best 3-point shooters of all time. If you actually look at the stats and you look at his volume, he's put together quite a few tremendous seasons in terms of high volume, high efficiency. So just as a team, you have to respect that they are, they're doing what they need to do. That they're giving that consistency. Last season you had a lot of load management going on, a lot of, they'd only get up for to play the Lakers pretty much, but now they're starting to actually put together, consistent play. And you're seeing a team that's fired up and ready to prove the doubters wrong. So obviously we do have to wait. We have to wait and see what they do in the playoffs. But I think we have to at least, give them that respect that they are doing what they can to bounce back from last year.
Yeah, and as you said, Paul George is having a great season this year, but no one is talking about him because it's pandemic P. So I don't know, one bad game and everyone talks about Paul George, but
even that last game where he missed, even that last game where he missed that clutch time bucket. He had 37 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, and what they do is post a fake stat,
exactly,
kind of discredit it. So it's the Clippers are right there. The Clippers are right there in the standings. Right underneath. Utah and Phoenix. So they're putting together a great season, and they're being underlooked. And maybe that would be good for them, because maybe last year they kind of believed the hype a bit too much, and now that the radar's not on them, they can just do what they do and get to the point where there's not really pressure on them to show out. But that Lakers Clippers matchup is overdue.
Yeah, no one is talking this year about Clippers. They're playing such a great basketball, but no one's really talking about them.
Yeah,
because last season they just crashed out of the playoffs the way they did, and this year they just
Don't get me wrong, it was bad, and I enjoyed every minute of it. as a fan of a team that has all of their draft picks, and poor George leaving us the way he did, it was funny to watch, and just as a neutral fan of a series, um, watching a game 7 and seeing a player hit the side of the backboard like that was insane to me. But all jokes aside, these things happen, and all they can do is show what they can do right now. Obviously everyone's saying, wait to the playoffs, but no one's waiting to the playoffs to clown them when they have a bad game though. So yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, they are in that tier with the Bucks, with Giannis, with a lot of players that everyone's just saying, we want to see what you do in the playoffs, which is warranted. But they can't distract you from the fact that they are having a great season.
Yeah, they're third in the West, so like that says a lot about their season.
Yeah, consistency, which is something they didn't have last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, the fact that they like blew what, like 3 double-digit leads in fourth quarter to Denver. So
yeah, that was bad. And
Season.
don't get me wrong, they do still have some of those issues in the clutch, because not just poor George, but I think Kawhi Leonard, he was he was like at the bottom of the league, one of the worst clutch percentage for this season. But they have their kinks, and I think Rondo will help with that definitely, because ISO gets very predictable. But if you have a player like Rondo who showed for the Lakers last season that his playmaking can be very, very valuable in the playoffs, that can take them a long way, because this looks like a team that's built for the playoffs. Anyway, now they look like they're more tailored for the playoffs. I think letting go of Harrell, who has been playing well for the Lakers, but in the playoffs, he was he was definitely part of that collapse, because he was a complete mismatch out there. Like, he could not guard. Jokic, he was like Jokic was looking like a proud father out there with Harrell on him. So I think they're definitely more tailored to win right now.
Yeah, I think Ibaka is big upgrade defensively over, and they added the LaMarcus Cousins as well. Yeah. So that should be.
Oh yeah, Ibaka, man, he's better than Westbrook, isn't he? According to KD, right? Don't even get me started on that. Like that KD, man.
He needed a reminder. He needed a reminder that he played.
Oh right, he literally paused, thought about it. This is how you know it was. Come on, just own up to your disrespect, man. Like, sneak this, and I'll never respect sneak this, man. He said 4 names, and then he thought and paused. He thought hard and paused, which is so obvious. And then when he said it, he was like, "Oh, I forgot someone." Like, come on, man. He's a clown, man. He's a clown. But yeah, the Clippers are good, and this is a strange year where there are several teams I could like legitimately see winning. Yeah, whereas last year it was kind of just like the Lakers, the Clippers,
and Milwaukee last year.
Yeah, the Bucks were looking great as well. But even with the Bucks, everyone had their trepidations. Everyone had their, is Giannis a playoff player? Exactly. Well, not even is he a playoff player. Will Mike Budenholzer ever adjust? Which, that's still a question. That's still definitely a question. But the Clippers are playing well. And then on the other side of the league, on the other conference, the Wizards are fighting their way into, giving themselves a chance behind Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is going absolutely off. They do now sit in 10th, I believe.
Yeah, they tied with Chicago Bulls right now for 10th place.
Yeah, the Bulls. Yeah, the Bulls. Yeah, they got that. They got that. Jack would like to hear that. But yeah,
like how Bulls managed, like they were like, oh, they're going to playoffs 100%. Right now, they might not even make playing tournament.
The Bulls are they're actually a joke. I think those 15 years of Michael Jordan just made them forget that it is a poverty franchise. Let's be honest. Like, but Jack's gonna lose his shit. But no,
I remember when we talked about after trade deadline, we making
Yeah,
the playoffs.
yeah. He was like,
Definitely going for playoffs.
we're the winners of the trade of
The
the
Bulls are back. The Bulls are
Bulls are
back.
back.
No, to the same place where they were last season.
They thought they got Shaq or something. I don't know.
Uh,
I love how they were like, oh yeah, our defense now, like now that we got rid of Vendel, he's like one of the best like off-ball defenders. He's not a great on-ball defender because of his
yeah.
size, but you thought you were having an upgrade with Vucevic at center, like.
Well, offensively, yeah, but like defensive.
No, defensive upgrade. I mean, defensive upgrade.
Yeah, Vucevic cooked us last night.
Oh yeah. He is a bucket. He's a bucket, but yeah, the Bulls are a bit suspect. But anyway, they're on a winning streak, so we'll let 2 games, but yeah, we'll let them have it.
Well,
but yeah, with the Wizards,
they are 5
with the Wizards. No, I was talking about the Bulls too. But yeah, with the Wizards, you know, a lot of it has to do with Westbrook, who in the clutch this year is crazy. Like he's looking like his 2017 MVP self. You know, he's 8th in points in the clutch. You know, 95 points. First in effective field goal percentage, true shooting, field goal percentage. You know, 8th in 3-point percentage, and he's just balling. Like, the Wizards, what have they won? 5 in a row, 7 of the last 8. I've said this in a couple episodes ago, and I actually had this as one of my bold predictions, is that they would make the playoffs, because I believe that, you know, well, when I said this, they didn't get Vucevic yet, but still, I still believe they're the only. Okay, now the Bulls do have 2 stars, but they have the strongest 2 stars, I believe, in that.
Well,
range.
Lavine is injured at the moment, so
yeah, in that playing range, I trust, you know, a Westbrook. I trust Westbrook more than any other player in those other teams to kind of carry in that type of situation. And, you know, Bradley Beal, obviously he helps. I do have to say though, watching these games, Bradley Beal is often very suspect in the clutch.
recently,
It's kind of been all season for me watching them. They had that game against the Nets where, you know, they both hit those back-to-back threes. But like outside of that, I don't know. I guess early in the season it was kind of pouting, you know, which fair enough. You know, they were absolutely trash, and you know he was playing with some G League players at that point. But still, you know, he's second in scoring, I believe, Bradley Beal. And he's first still, but Steph Curry's on his tail. But yeah, no, they have the firepower there. Picking up Gafford, even though he didn't do much for the Bulls, he's been great for the Wizards. Len's been decent for them as well. You know, they're having players step up. They're getting healthier. So they look decent, and they look like, you know, like the Warriors with Steph, having those 2 players alone, when you're in that type of situation, whereas, you know, you need to win 1 game, you want to go into that situation with those types of players. So if they can keep winning and put themselves in anywhere 7 through 10, I mean, I believe they should make the playoffs. And wouldn't you love to see a Wizards Nets Russ versus KD first round matchup? Oh my, we've been waiting for this, man.
It will be offense against offense, no defense.
Exactly, and
there'll be no defense in the game.
And if you look at the stats for Russ against the Nets this year, even when Russ was injured earlier this season, like he just goes God mode against KD.
That extra motivation.
After these comments, man, he might mess around and average like 40 in that series. But that used to be our thing though. Like as a OKC fan, I remember when KD left, obviously that first season where he had no one around him, like, yeah, we were going to get absolutely pieced up by the Warriors. But after that, I just remember we'd always blow out the Warriors, even though, like, and I always wanted to see what that series would be like, because obviously they're all-time great team. But just seeing, like, the emotion that goes into it, hopefully there's fans. It won't hit the same with it being Nets versus Wizards as it would have been, Warriors versus Thunder. But still, just seeing them 2 go at it for 7 games, that full offensive series, like that would be amazing, man. We need that.
Well, right now there's Heat, Charlotte, Indiana, and Bulls like 7 through 10, so they can easily make the playoff.
Wait, say that again. Just say one by one, and go on.
Heat 7, Charlotte 8.
So Heat, Bubble Boys.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Melo's hurt.
Melo's coming
hurt.
back in 10 days.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, the Woj reported today, like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
7-10 days he might be back.
Is it? I
Then,
think, isn't it back to basketball activity 7 to 10 days?
oh yeah, so
Yeah, so that'll just be like on court work.
yeah, the ninth Pacers.
Yeah,
They just.
I mean, the way Levert's starting to step up a bit.
Yeah, but they can't. They
can't stay
injured.
healthy, man. They can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
weird. They keep having people step up because last year, this time last year, it was all about, the bubble goat, TJ Warren.
Yeah.
And he's not even a factor really this year because of his injuries. And then they just keep having people step up, but it just never have the
But yeah,
firepower
like what?
to really go into it with a fair shot because now Miles Turner goes down.
Yeah, I think one person steps up and then someone gets injured straight away.
Yeah, it's
like
tough.
with Turner out, I think they have a chance, but I don't think they will make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a defensive player of the year candidate type player
Exactly.
right there. So that is a big piece to miss. I'm hoping in his absence that Sabonis, gets increased numbers and Levert too, because they're on my fantasy squad.
Yeah.
But as for the playoffs, I don't know. But I mean, it's a well coached team. Regardless,
the thing is, like, if they make a playing tournament, it's one game.
Yeah, exactly. It's one game and they play hard. So
exactly,
and you know that much, and they're so underrated. Like it's insane how underrated they are.
Yeah,
Especially, I mean, earlier in the season, Brogdon was insane. They didn't even have Oladipo for most of the season, who at the start was playing all right. But obviously Levert's taking that role. He looks to be good.
Yeah,
yeah,
last 3 years, like for Indiana, it was what? Last year Sabonis was in the playoffs. Then the year before, Oladipo was in the playoffs. But now Turner is injured. Yeah, like they're very injured. Like last 3 years, it's just terrible.
Yeah, man, they're cursed for real. But yeah, the playing, it's just looking great. This season is looking, it looks as deep as ever, and maybe a lot of that has to do with, we having stars break out, you having young players. Some of these young players are just crazy how quickly they've just broken out. Rookies like LaMelo, who we're happy he's going to be back, and it makes for an interesting season because it's not like obviously the playing. It'd be one thing if there was just playing, but like all these teams were trash like in previous years. But like most of these teams do have something about them that makes you want to see them. So it at least makes it interesting, and people will be watching this playing because it's not going to be a bunch of like absolutely trash teams. It's going to be some decent competition. It's going to at least have some star power. You got Zion, you got the Pelicans in that type of position as well. Who it felt like the whole premise of the play-in tournament was invented to get Zion into the playoffs last year. I swear, Adam Silver created the play-in.
Yeah, and he didn't even play in the bubble.
He didn't even make it. Yeah, he didn't even play in the bubble. But
but
it looks good.
Pelicans,
I mean, if we get that Wizards Nets first round, we've got a lot of contenders on both conferences, which is mad to see. I mean, I just want a normal season, like imagine this type of firepower in a normal season without all these injuries, without protocol and all those things. Like next season is looking to be good, man. But this season, this playoffs, as players start to get healthier, it should be good. And then you just throw in that, that curveball of the Lakers potentially being like imagine if they fall into playing, that would be something else. But I don't think they will. I think they're fairly safe. Because they're getting AD back this week, I think, and LeBron should be back in a couple of weeks as well.
Yes, so they should. But right now it's 4-5. It will be Lakers against Nuggets, first round.
Ooh. Skinny Jokic, since he lost that weight, he has not missed a beat. He has not missed a beat, man. That guy is a killer. Like his scoring is insane.
And the way he scores as well.
Yeah,
like he just flips the ball and it goes in.
His touch is just like out of this world,
Yeah, when you think he's 7 feet and doing things like that,
and then his playmaking is absolutely like changing the game. It's actually a quite underrated part of the revitalization of the center position is that a lot of these centers are really great playmakers. Obviously, none of them touch Jokic because Jokic is an all-time. He's an all-time playmaking talent. But you're having a lot of these. The evolutions of the center position is that a lot of these players like Vucevic, are starting to play make. But Jokic is just he's gonna steal that best passing big of all time very soon.
Oh, 100%. I think he might be right now the best passing big.
It might already be, but obviously, like some weirdos that still hold out of calling Curry the best 3-point shooter, which I still see. I'm just like, what are you watching? People are like, oh no, Ray Allen's still the best. I'm like, all right, bro. But I guess he'll have to string together a couple seasons of this production. But with the eye test, we all know what's up. Jokic is that guy. Jokic is the MVP. Sorry, Steph.
Internationals are taking over.
Sorry, Europe's taking over the international game. You got Giannis. We're about to have. I mean, when's the last time an American won an MVP? What's going on?
Giannis won last 2.
Yeah,
and before that it was
about to have
3 years in a row.
Come on, guys. It's not. It's maybe European fans are gonna have to switch to basketball because. Let's not even talk about that. This is a basketball.
Some countries are switched to basketball.
Let's not even go into that. This is a basketball podcast, but yeah. But anyway, with that being said, thank you for tuning into this episode. We'll hope to have Jack back soon. Hopefully he gets a new keyboard or he gets his other keyboard back or whatever. But no, thanks again to Matas for stepping in. He might as well be a host, a co-host at this point. But we'll be sure to have him again soon. But with that, thank you for listening.